breaking news on January inflation. The consumer price index rising 0.5%, 0.5% month over month. That is right in line with estimates on the core level.
Hello, welcome to Financial Stockholm. Today is Tuesday, February 14th, 2023. And I'm Christopher Crystal, and this is what we're seeing out of Sweden and what our reflections are in general over the market. So the focus within Sweden today, of course, was on the CPI, and that came out of the US. We're looking for a stabilization or a weakening of the inflation trend. So that's how we've been looking at it, and that's what our Valentine's Day wish is today, to see that the inflationary trends are declining. And you see this from Australia to the US. The fear or the hope is for a declining inflationary trend. And so we got the figures out for the CPI. They're roughly in line, 6.4. You see food costs is still up over 10.5% in January, and you see dining out is around 11.2, 11.5. So in general, the trend is where many wanted it to go. However, I think that this is still a perception market. It's more of a trading market as opposed to an actual fundamental market. Fundamentally, the oils have done very well. But if you look at the inflation trends, that are coming out of the US and that are still in Europe, and even what you saw in the UK, you still see an increasing inflation. And this is based on a 12-month adjusted. So, if you look at the US, everything was up 6.4 on 12 months. Food on a 12-month basis was up 10.1. And then restaurant dining was 11.3. Energy was 8.2. So you're still seeing a, just because you're seeing a less than expected or maybe slightly lower, doesn't mean you're out of the woods, and doesn't mean that things are getting that much better. People are looking for signs of improvement, and that's why you get any kind of rallies. So that's I think important, and you may see a rally at the end of the day today, you may not, but again, what I would say to you about this market is this is not a fundamental market. This is really kind of a perception and a trader's market. So if you like trading, I think you can do very well. But and that involves being long, being short, and possibly trading options. For any of those strategies, you should contact your investment advisor to work out your strategy, how to invest. I'm only giving information about what I see in the market, and I'm just discussing it, not giving a recommendation. So the big news within Sweden again is, how we'll participate in the building of Ukraine. So we had our prime minister give a speech discussing the rebuild. And you saw a month ago, when Zelensky was in the United States, he was talking about the rebuilding of Ukraine, where from 250 billion to 350 billion, could be as much as 400 billion. It'll involve companies like BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, of course, for the financing, and then locally here for companies in Sweden and Europe, the rebuilding. And so you would have a lot of German companies, you would have some Swedish companies, you would have Norwegian companies, you would have companies from all over Europe, Polish companies, and these companies would be involved in the rebuilding. Between Sweden and Poland, there's something like 500 companies and 100,000 jobs. So that could expand how many jobs would be involved there. But it would be the rebuild. And what that means is that in order to have a rebuilding, you really want to have a peace talk. You're not going to build, you're certainly going to make repairs during war, but those are kind of triage. You're making emergency repairs to keep things running. But when you get to a peace talk, then you can start the rebuild. So the fact that our prime minister is talking about this is, to me, a somewhat positive sign that we could see the war ending soon, or sooner rather than later. So that's good. Although Moldovia has closed their airspace, remember we saw their political parties resigning. over the weekend because there was some blowback to the politicians from their citizen. A lot of those people are pro-Russian and long-standing Russian relations, so they're not so happy with an anti-Russian government. So they've closed their airspace. And on that note, Sweden is still a terrorist target, but that has more to do with the fact that we burned the Koran. We had an individual that we gave the right to burn the Koran in front of the Turkish embassy, which is one of the holdbacks now to our application process to NATO. What we're also focusing on is really we're again looking abroad, but our largest trading partners are Europe and the United States, and it goes in that order. And so we're looking at what's going on in the United States, obviously, to kind of take some cues from. So everybody who is focused on sex and gender and non-merit reasons for doing things, we're very excited in Sweden that Nikki Haley would be running for president, and that's because she's, of course, a woman. And that's, of course, because she's got parents from India, just like Kamala Harris has a mom from India, who, by the way, is the doctor. So she's, just like, when people talked about Obama, don't forget Obama went to Columbia, and he also went to, I think it was either Harvard or Yale. I mean, you're talking about somebody who was very highly educated, who was a professor and was teaching constitutional law, was very qualified, and he was a state senator before that, and then a senator. You're talking about somebody who's well qualified. Now, Nikki Haley, she might be a little bit of a different story. She was a governor, but she became a governor as a result of the governor kind of leaving and going off on some vision quest down in Latin South America. It's very strange. And then she became a ambassador to, I think it was to the UN. And so she's going to be running. She's part of what many are calling part of the Uni Party. There were discussions when she was at the UN for President Donald Trump that she was having an affair with Donald Trump. Who knows if that was true or not? But I think one of the major critiques against her is, what has she actually done or seen to completion as a politician? So that'll be interesting to see if she can finish the race. She's a very kind of generic plastic kind of candidate. I don't think anything really. Gabbard would be a much better candidate as a vice presidential candidate, as opposed to a presidential. And she may be in the running with somebody like Ron DeSantis. Another candidate that, if people wanted to focus on, could be somebody like Sarah Jessica Sanders, who is the current ambassador or governor in Arkansas. Her father, Mike Huckabee, had been governor in Arkansas. And yes, he was governor, after the Clintons. So, it's that would be other candidates that would also be women that people could focus on. But I don't really see much of Nikki Haley as a presidential candidate. I don't think she'll win. And I think it's really kind of a non-event that she's making her announcement. Business, we do see electronic chains not doing as well. MediaMart, which I had thought was a German company, is closing down in Norway. And there'll be other local players that are taking over. Sweden is happy about Tesla potentially unionizing. We're a union country, so Swedes want to see people in the unions. And Ford, which is a very strong union company, is expanding its electric vehicle. But remember, they closed down their plant in Germany. They tried to sell it to Build Your Dreams, BYD, which is refused to buy it. And now Ford is laying off people in its electric vehicle divisions while focusing on electric vehicles. So we'll see what happens there. And on top of that, I think really our focus is going to be on what the Swedish Riksbank will be doing, and then our energy prices. Of course, energy, I talk about energy all the time. And then, of course, we'll probably be building more of the wind power. I'm not a big fan of the wind power, but Vattenfall is certainly a large proponent. And up north, even companies like Northvolt, when they were discussing power generation in Sweden, were talking about wind power. So, the wind power will probably be a stronger investment. I wouldn't look at Vestas Wind because they look to have revenues that are roughly the same as this year. So there may be a company in decline, and maybe they've got some management issues. And you would think that a company like Vestas Wind should be doing very, very well. But at this time, their wind turbines are not doing as well. So perhaps, other companies like, Gamesa or Sveavind, other companies out there would be able to provide a better return. And on the BLS figures, if you look at the notes, you can click on the link and go right to the bls.gov, and you get the breakdown on where the inflationary trends or non-inflationary trends were. So with that, hopefully you've liked the video and you're subscribed, and we'll talk to you soon, because remember, you can always make money in the market, whether you're long or short, or your strategy is long-term or short-term. You can always make money in the market. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.